So any other reflections which the table would like to kind of, the panel would like to kind of touch upon?
Since you brought the issue of Coca-Cola, and they have started taking proactive measure. They are into extensive rainwater harvesting now, and rooftop water harvesting as well. And as far as I know, the official statistics is they come up with around 800 rainwater harvesting structures across the country. The efficacy of this is yet to be verified, but at least they've made this statement and they're trying to fix the crime.
I'm associated with Eco Monitor Society that deals with the demographic ecological interface locally and nationally. Several years ago, I worked very closely with one of the greatest humanists and ecologists in the world, Yaki Cousteau, the underwater ocean explorer. As you know, he was the one who invented in the early 1940s scuba, self-controlled underwater breathing apparatus. We used to work together for many years, and he said that the greatest stakeholders are the next generation. I want to make a suggestion from taking from Cousteau's book, the environment and the next generation being the greatest stakeholders. I think corporates in India that have grown to a respectable size and are taking up the challenges of the whole world should now assume direct responsibility rather than just being philanthropists. By direct responsibility, I mean I met somebody, and these thoughts I've been giving at all the institutes where I lecture. I met a young entrepreneur. He said, I'm very concerned of what's happening. We are going to be donating 50 lakhs per year for the next 5 or 10 years for environment. And what I suggested was that your company, with the type of skill that's making into a world player, why don't you assume direct responsibility? For example, Project Tiger. For the last 30 years, Prime Ministers have been heading this committee, and tigers are disappearing from India. Just take up one sanctuary, Kaziranga sanctuary, and say for the next 25 years, our corporate with the skills added to what the government is doing will protect it. The things like that we've got to do, assume direct responsibility. Thank you.
My name is Jyoti Sharma. I am an independent consultant working on CSR initiatives. I have a question for the panel who I may want to answer this. What should be the main motivator for corporates to take up social responsibility projects? We understand that business is led by profit. So what should corporate CSR activities be motivated by?
Sure, this discussion on drivers of CSR is already completed, but one of the primary motivations of a successful corporation is to achieve and nurture legitimacy. Every modern corporation wants to be legitimate. If the stakeholders do not pursue a company to be legitimate, then there is a problem. And legitimacy is a consequence of good corporate governance process and practices. So I would link here this boardroom processes and CSR, eventually culminating into this issue of legitimacy. If you look at the world around in India, abroad, there is a crisis. The modern corporation is struggling to be legitimate. It is trying to convey through corporate communication with all sorts of methodologies to tell us that legitimate. It has made profits because the main issue is not how, what wealth have you generated. main issue is how this wealth is generated and how wealth is distributed. That is where comes the legitimacy question. To me, primary motivation is legitimacy. Apart from being business case and drivers, you want to be acceptable, you want to be credible, you want to be accountable, these are there. But how do we see legitimacy in the 21st century? The companies are collapsing every week. In US, Europe, India is today far enough. Companies will collapse every week. And there are not enough CEOs and enough board members who can understand this. I'm sorry to say this. The crisis of leadership in the sense that the boardroom itself is having a problem of legitimacy. It's a question of conveying to stakeholders that you are legitimate.